Let's see. No, that ain't where I need to see. Hi, Canna. Where's my big girl? Click you off. Damn it. There we go. Click on that. I think I got my stuff back here.
All right, here we go.
Get her done. Click on.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome. We're going to give it some minutes for people to come in. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're all here. All right. Let's see here. Can you all hear us?
I hear you.
Okay, cool. All right, Mark, can you hear us? Mr. Cowden? Oh, we got another Robert. We got two Roberts here.
Finally, my internet popped back on.
All right. All right. Let's see here. Here's Grace. Awesome.
This third party Robert,
you're going to need to log out of your phone. All right. Can you hear me, Robert? All right, cool. All right, we want to welcome everybody. My name is Patrick Dunnigan. I'm the director of Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. We want to welcome you all to our weekly meeting every Sunday morning and every Wednesday night. We're going to play a little video, right? It's an audio clip that lasts about 15 minutes so people can actually invite their family and friends. We would ask politely that everybody mute themselves so we don't get any feedback. And then after the audio clip, we're going to go over some slides and some updates on what we're doing in the state of Kentucky. And then we'll allow you to ask questions at the end of the meeting. And if we go too fast, feel free to ask us to slow down. Okay? All right. Can you see that, Robert?
Yes.
All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be heading down south to Kentucky to take a look at something pretty interesting going on down there.
Yeah.
Cannabis reform.
Absolutely. And we've got a whole lot to cover too. We've been looking through some legislative documents, getting intel from advocacy groups.
Oh, very cool.
And we've even got some data analysis to really get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on and why folks should be paying attention.
Okay, so let's dive right into this, shall we? And listeners, you are in for a treat because Kentucky is potentially on the verge of something big, right? Like, we're not just talking about tweaking some minor laws here.
No, not at all. This is something much bigger, potentially even a constitutional amendment.
Whoa, really? A constitutional amendment?
Yeah, it's called HB 105, and it could actually let the people of Kentucky directly vote on cannabis decriminalization.
Okay, hold on. You're going to have to break this down for me because it's a pretty major development, a constitutional amendment.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So this HB 105, what it does is it guarantees adults 21 and older the right to possess, use, buy, or sell up to 1 ounce of cannabis.
Okay.
And they could even cultivate up to 5 plants for personal use.
Oh.
All without any criminal penalties.
So it's not just about legalization, it's about putting the power in the hands of Kentuckians to actually make this decision themselves.
Exactly.
I can see why you're so excited about this. It seems like a pretty big deal. But why go the route of a constitutional amendment? I mean, wouldn't just passing a regular law be enough?
Well, think about it this way. If they change the state constitution, it's a much more permanent change, you know? Future legislatures can't just come in and easily reverse it.
Oh, okay.
It's a way to really solidify this change and protect it for the people who support decriminalization.
Right, because it's literally written into the fabric of the state's laws.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this bill, HB 105, potentially changing the game in Kentucky. But there's also a group that's been super vocal about pushing for this change.
Yeah, the Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition.
The KCFC. I've heard of these guys. They've been making some noise.
Oh, yeah, they're doing some amazing work.
So what exactly is their role in all of this?
Well, they're a nonprofit advocacy group.
Okay.
And they're working totally within the legal system to educate the public about cannabis.
All right.
You know, dispelling those myths and advocating for common sense reforms like HB 105.
So they're not just about shouting from the rooftops. They're actually getting down to the nuts and bolts of making this happen.
Exactly. And they're really smart about it too. They have this initiative called Survey Says.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
where they gauge public opinion,
Very clear.
to show that there's widespread support for change.
Smart.
It's all about fostering open dialogue and really getting people talking about this issue.
I love that. All right. So we've got this potential game changer in HB 105. We've got the KCFC working hard to make it a reality. And it sounds like there's a lot of public support brewing. So let's say someone listening to this is totally fired up about this issue. Right. What can they actually do to help push HB 105 across the finish line?
Well, this is where things get really interesting because now it's all about the people.
Ooh, I like where this is going. This is about getting involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Since we're talking about a constitutional amendment, the legislature has to take action, right?
Right.
So the most impactful thing anyone can do is contact their representatives,
Oh,
especially their Republican representatives, and urge them to support and co-sponsor HB 105.
all right. So it's time for all you Kentuckians out there to pick up those phones and make your voices heard. We're talking about calling the legislative hotline,
Yes,
and that number is 1-800-372-7181.
get those calls going.
Don't be shy. Don't just call once.
No,
Make it twice a day,
exactly.
Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Every call makes a difference.
I love it. So this is about showing the Kentucky legislature just how much support there is for HB 105.
Absolutely. They need to see how important this is to the people they represent.
Right, because every call is a message. It's a statement.
Exactly.
And this is your chance, Kentucky, to directly impact the future of cannabis in your state.
It's all about taking action.
So let's say someone is ready to make that call.
Yeah.
But they're thinking, hold on, how do I actually find my representative?
Okay, good question. It's super easy.
Okay.
For example, let's say your representative is Jared Bauman.
Okay.
You can email him directly at jared.bauman@kilegislature.gov.
All right, super simple. Or if you're not sure who your representative is,
Right.
you can always call the Legislative Research Commission,
They're great.
or the LRC for short, at 502-564-810.
They'll hook you up with your representative's info in no time.
It's all about taking that first step, making that connection.
And remember,
Yeah.
don't underestimate the power of actually.
We've laid out the roadmap. We've given you the tools.
Yep.
It's time for action, Kentucky. Let's make this happen.
I'm excited to see what happens next.
Me too. So we've
Mhm.
talked a lot about taking action and how important it is to reach out to your representatives. But let's take a step back for a second and look at what's actually happening on the ground in Kentucky.
Right? Like, what does the current cannabis landscape look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the data actually paints a pretty stark picture. The Kentucky Center for Economic Policy released a report, and it shows thousands of Kentuckians are facing cannabis related charges and convictions every year.
Wow, thousands. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. And you know what's really crazy? A lot of these are for minor offenses.
Like what? Just simple possession or something.
Exactly. Like, for example, Lyon County has a conviction rate of 11.9 per 1,000 residents.
Well, hold on. That sounds really high.
It is. That's more than 4 times the state average.
Wow, that's some pretty staggering numbers. It really makes you think about the human cost of all of this, you know?
Absolutely. Every charge, every conviction, it represents a real person whose life is being affected.
Right. It's not just a statistic, it's someone's job prospects, their housing, their right to vote, even.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect that goes way beyond just a possession charge.
So, with HB 105 on the table, the one we were talking about earlier, the one that could decriminalize cannabis, do you think we could actually see a shift in those numbers? Like, could we see fewer charges and convictions?
Oh, I definitely think it's possible. Decriminalization could really take a lot of pressure off the justice system.
Right. So they could focus on more serious crimes.
Exactly. And think about it, decriminalization could actually lead to new industries,
Oh, yeah.
new jobs, more tax revenue. It could be a real boost to the Kentucky economy.
It's like a domino effect. All these positive impacts stemming from one change.
And it's not just economic benefits either. We could see positive social impacts as well. Well, think about it. Decriminalization could really help change public perception about cannabis,
Hmm.
help break down those negative stereotypes.
Yeah.
And that could lead to more community development, more understanding, and acceptance.
I like it. So it's not just about individual freedom. It's about the entire state of Kentucky potentially benefiting from this.
Exactly. It's about creating a more just and equitable society.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about Kentucky, but this isn't just happening in a vacuum, right? There's a whole national movement going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're seeing a massive shift all across the country when it comes to cannabis.
Like a domino effect. More and more states are joining the party.
Exactly. More states are legalizing or decriminalizing, and it's really putting pressure on others to reevaluate their own policies.
It's like, hey, if they can do it, why can't we?
Exactly. And that national momentum is putting Kentucky in a really interesting position.
Look at a crossroads.
Totally. They have HB 105 on the table. They've got the KCFC pushing for change. And now they've got all these other states showing them that it's possible.
So it's like a pivotal moment for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Where do they want to stand on this issue?
Exactly. Do they want to be part of this new wave of reform, or do they want to stay stuck in the past?
And that's why it's so important for people to contact their legislator.
Yes. They need to make their voices heard.
It's not just about saying yes or no to cannabis. It's about making sure these complex issues are being discussed.
Right. And that all sides are being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the KCFC and their role in advocating for HB 105, but they're also doing a lot of educational work, right?
Oh, absolutely. Their website is like a one-stop shop for all things cannabis.
Really?
They've got info on HB 105. They've got the latest research and news.
Wow.
They even have a Know Your Rights section, which is super helpful for anyone who's curious about cannabis in Kentucky.
It's like they're providing people with the tools they need to make informed decisions.
Exactly. And their whole data-driven approach is really effective.
Yeah. Like what the survey says initiative, they're showing that support for reform isn't just a bunch of people shouting. It's actually a widespread sentiment.
It's smart and it gives them a lot of credibility.
It's like they're speaking the language of facts and figures.
Exactly. And that's what policymakers need to see.
It's inspiring to see a group like that so dedicated to making a difference.
They're really putting in the work.
So we've been talking a lot about calling that legislative hotline.
Yeah, it's super important.
But are there other ways people can get involved with the KCFC and their efforts?
Oh, yeah, tons. Their website has a how to help section, and it's got all sorts of ways to contribute.
Awesome.
You can donate, you can sign up for their newsletter, you can even attend their events and connect with other people who are passionate about this issue.
So it's about finding what works for you, what you're comfortable with.
Exactly. And remember, every little bit helps.
It's all about collective action, right?
Absolutely. And change doesn't happen overnight, you know.
It's process.
The legislative process can be slow, it can be frustrating sometimes, but it's important to stay persistent
Keep those goals coming.
and stay informed. Keep up with what's happening with HB 105 and don't be afraid to speak your mind.
I love it. Okay, so before we move on, is there anything else about HB 105 itself that we haven't covered yet? Any interesting tidbits?
Oh, actually, there's another bill that's kind of connected to all of this. It's called HB 106.
Oh, really? What's that one about?
We don't have all the details yet, but it seems like it's addressing some of the potential consequences of decriminalization.
Like what?
Well, things like expunging past cannabis convictions
Oh, wow, that would be huge.
and protecting Second Amendment rights.
Okay, so it's like they're trying to anticipate some of the challenges that might come up.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and thinking about the bigger picture.
And expunging past convictions, that would be a game changer for so many people.
It would give people a clean slate, a chance to move forward without the stigma of a criminal record.
Exactly. And the Second Amendment part, that's an interesting one because federal law still prohibits cannabis users from owning firearms.
Right, even in states where it's legal.
So it's like a clash between state and federal law.
It's a complex issue, and it's something that's going to need to be addressed as more states move towards cannabis reform.
It's like a whole other can of worms, but an important one to discuss.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. HB 105, the KCFC, the potential impacts of decriminalization.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first and foremost, this issue is about way more than just cannabis.
Right. It's about so much more.
It's about individual freedoms, economic opportunities, social justice.
And it's about the role of government in our lives.
Exactly. And for Kentuckians, this is something that directly affects them.
The future of cannabis in their state is, in many ways, in their hands.
Exactly. So whether you're passionate about this issue or just starting to learn about it, your voice matters.
Get involved. Contact your legislators, especially your Republican representatives, and make your voice heard.
Every phone call, every email, it all adds up.
It's about showing them how much this issue matters to you.
And it's not just about voicing your opinion, it's about staying informed.
Right. Keep learning. Keep asking questions.
And have those conversations with your elected officials and your community members.
It's a conversation that deserves everyone's attention.
Absolutely. And we've given you the information and the tools to get involved. So we encourage you to keep researching and forming your own opinion.
Exactly. This is about empowering yourselves to make informed decisions. All right. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into what's going on with cannabis in Kentucky, I'm really curious what has stood out to you the most from everything we've talked about.
Yeah, it's been a lot to unpack for sure.
It really has.
For me, what's really striking is how we're seeing all these different things coming together at once in Kentucky. Like you've got this shift in public opinion happening,
Yeah.
and you've got this super dedicated advocacy group, the KCFC, really pushing for change.
They're awesome.
They really are. And then on top of that, you've got this real potential for economic and social benefits for the entire state.
It's like all the stars are aligning.
Yeah, it really feels like Kentucky's at a turning point.
It's exciting. And, while we've been focusing a lot on the potential positive impacts of HB 105, we should also acknowledge that this is a complicated issue with valid concerns on all sides.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to consider things like public health, road safety, youth access, and how all of this would be regulated.
Right. It's not just a simple yes or no kind of thing.
It's about having those tough conversations, weighing the pros and cons, and figuring out what kind of future Kentuckians want for their state.
Exactly. And that's why citizen engagement is so important.
Absolutely. It's not just about calling your legislators, it's about talking to your neighbors, your friends, your family,
Right. Having those open and honest conversations about what this all means.
and working together to create policies that actually reflect the values and needs of Kentucky residents.
Okay. So, for anyone who might have missed a few things along the way, let's do a super quick recap here. We're talking about HB 105, a bill that could potentially allow Kentuckians to vote on decriminalizing cannabis.
And remember, the most effective way to make your voice heard on this issue is to contact your Republican legislators and tell them to support and co-sponsor HB 105.
That's right. Call that legislative hotline at 1-800 372 7181.
Make those calls.
Twice a day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Every call makes a difference.
And don't forget, you can also find your representative's contact information online through the Legislative Research Commission if you need it.
Super easy. So if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, Kentucky has a real chance to be a leader in this whole movement for cannabis reform that's sweeping the nation.
That's an exciting time.
It really is. And for all of you listening in Kentucky right now, the future of this issue is really in your hands.
Make your voices heard.
That's right. Speak up, get involved, and help shape the future of your state.
And as you continue to learn about this issue, I'll leave you with one final thought. If Kentucky does decide to decriminalize cannabis, what kind of impact do you think that will have on the state?
What kind of economic and social changes might we see?
How will this decision affect different communities across Kentucky?
It's definitely something to think about.
It's a complex issue with a lot of different angles, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We've given you the information, the resources, and hopefully the inspiration to get involved.
Now it's your turn. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the issues that matter most to you.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
All right. Everybody still with us?
We're here. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, everyone. All right.
Morning.
Let's see here. Okay. Right now we're going to pull up some slides here, so bear with me 1 minute here. Robert, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hey, everybody. My name's Rob. Robert Matheny. I own Kentucky CBD Pharmacy. We sponsor Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. I'm also a board director for them. I'm also a board director for the Kentucky Hemp Association, and I try to bind these two industries because cannabis has been separated into hemp and marijuana for tax purposes, and they're both being used against us. Our hemp industry was told not to support the marijuana people because it'd make them look bad. Same thing was said to the other side. So there's a division inside here I am here to mend. We need to be very clear that it's all cannabis. You can't fight one and love the other. So be all supportive. It's very important. I'll let Patrick roll on, and I'll chime in every chance I get.
All right, let's get this done. And I believe we got Grace. Grace, are you still with us? Is Grace still with us? Robert?
Yes, but I'm muted. So hi.
Hey,
Hi,
she's
everybody.
one of our board directors. She's going to participate as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. I'm going to give us an update real quick, but before we go any further, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, KY CBD Pharmacy, Robert, Kentucky Medical Marijuana Center, right? Bluegrass Therapeutic Cannabis, Medical Cannabis Clinic of Kentucky, and 502 Hemp. These businesses support our initiative to decriminalize cannabis in Kentucky. So if you know who these businesses are, reach out to them and say thank you. We really appreciate everyone that's participating in sponsoring us. With that said, we do have a referral program. So if you are able to refer a business to our platinum status, we're actually going to give you $50. So I just want to let you reach out. You can go to our website, legalizekentucky.com/referral program. We need to get every Kentucky business. If you visit a business that either a hemp shop or any smoke shop, anywhere, Kentucky business, see if they'll come in and sponsor us, and we'll actually drive traffic towards them as well. If I go too fast, please tell me slow down. All right, so I want to talk about our 420 event. Okay, our 420 event is that what we're doing is we're selling our buttons. We'd like to get our buttons sent out to everyone in the state of Kentucky, right? And we want everyone to wear their buttons on 420, take a picture of themselves, tag us, right, and share it on 420. Mark Cowden over in Frankfurt, he's actually got a bunch of them as well. He's going to sell them as well. You can go to our website, legalizekentucky.com/KCFC button to get your button. Now, we've got some exciting news. Starting Friday for the next 2 months, we are going to be setting up at the awesome flea market over at Shepherdsville, Kentucky. Right, the goal is to educate everyone about HB 105 and get support for these bills, right? And get as many people as we can see on their eyes on this bill. That's the goal, and also sell our buttons. So if you live anywhere near Shepherdsville, Kentucky, come out and visit us because we're going to be there on Saturday and Sunday. Update on the bills. This graphic was actually made by 502 Hemp. I want to say thank you for them for doing it. HB 34, we want everybody to say no. It will make people using full spectrum CBD products driven impaired. Is that correct, Robert?
Yes, Kentucky is a zero tolerance state currently. Any amount of THC that is in your system can qualify you for a DUI as of now. So this
What?
bill just further, absolutely. This bill actually further solidifies that. We got to make sure that as we're seeing these cannabis bills go into Frankfurt, Patrick just said say no to it. I get that. A lot of people don't understand what he means by that. Just saying no to these bills doesn't mean we don't like them on Facebook. You all literally have to call and tell your representatives how to represent you, or these bills will make it through, because believe me, when they want a bill through, it makes it fast. So don't let them say they can't get our decrim bill through either, because that's the other thing they say. So if they're trying to push these bad bills through, remember there are good bills there they should be pushing. So we got to tell them how to do their job. Patrick?
All right, Grace, you see HB 62?
Yes.
You want to read that?
Vapes. It will fix the issues with HB 11 that could cause us to not be able to sell hemp vapes.
So what that is, again, this comes back to they're going to put laws through our state house that people have to be involved in. This one actually directly affects me. If you'll remember, which if any of you are nicotine consumers, you do remember, HB 11 passed and was enforceable as of January 1, and that took most of the vapes out of gas stations. And I say vapes as a very loose term because that's the problem they're having with this bill. By passing that law, they took every form of vaporizer away, as we also just passed a law legalizing medical cannabis vaporizers. So there's an issue in that law. Now, that also took all the different kinds of nicotine vapes off of shelves, which is a problem for a lot of people that use vapes to stop smoking cigarettes. There's a whole lot of bad stuff going on, people, but you have to be involved. So we're bringing light to these things so you can get involved and so you know they're here, because most generally you don't. You wasn't asked about what your thoughts on vapes were. You wasn't given a chance to vote on that. Your representatives were. If you didn't tell them you don't like that, it's time to start telling them what you want. Patrick?
All right. And then we've got HB 105 and 106. Those are our bills. Those are the ones that we are focusing on. There is a similar bill that's in the Senate that we're actually trying to see if we can get recalled and replaced with our bill from Senator Yates. That way we have the same language coming out of the Senate and the House at the same time. I just want to give a big, real quick update on that bill. So I've got some exciting news. Next Sunday, Representative Kulkarni will be attending this meeting. All right. So this is all hands on deck. We need everyone who is participating in this meeting to please reach out to your media, reach out to your family, friends, reach out to your Kentucky legislator. Ask them to join this meeting on the 2nd. We want every Kentuckian, all 30,000 of our audience. I would love to see every 30,000 show up at this meeting on Sunday. That would be wonderful. Right, Robert?
Absolutely. It is not only encouraged, it's necessary because we may not have the pull to demand media coverage, which we have seen very clearly, but a representative does. And if she's sitting here listening to a group of constituents telling her what we want, the news will start picking up on this. But we have to have you guys sharing this. There's a literal media blackout on this bill. It is ignore it and it will go away. And believe me, they've done this year after year, and they're right. If it's ignored, it will go away. So we got to echo this. Just like you're seeing all these people holding signs on the news about the Danville Police Department, or you see everybody up in arms, haha, literally, about the Second Amendment rights. Guys, we need that kind of participation. We need that kind of movement. We have to have people saying, hey, this is what we want and we need listened to. By all means, I am begging you to get involved in this.
Right. And add that point, and I'll probably reiterate this during our next slides, right? Every Second Amendment activist should be on this bill like stink on shit. Excuse my language. I apologize for that. Right? Because of the federal government has canceled their hearing on descheduling cannabis to 3. So now it's in our hands now. Right. And this bill will address the Second Amendment right. That way people can have their medicine that they need. All right, so we're gonna go forward. So I'm gonna go over some slides here. Today, I'm going to talk about how you can help change the cannabis laws in Kentucky, whether you're passionate about the social, medical, or economic benefits of cannabis legalization. There are several impactful steps that you can take to contribute to this cause. Let's go ahead and get into that. And Grace, I'm gonna let you do that one. You're muted. You're muted.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, first thing you can do, educate yourself and others. First and foremost, knowledge is power. Begin by educating yourself about the current cannabis laws in Kentucky. Understand the benefits and risks associated with cannabis use, as well as the broader social and economic impacts of legalization. Once you've gathered this information, share it with your friends, family, and community. Building a well-informed support base can make a significant difference in promoting change.
Perfect. Thank you, Grace. Do you want to add anything else to it, Grace?
We basically are like a large support group for each other and have been for many years at this point. So I agree that having a well-informed support base makes a huge difference in how easily we can force change and how much we can support each other and in genuine friendships along the way. So hope everybody will do that and join us.
Hey,
I'd
Seth,
like to add a little something to that if I can.
go ahead.
We're talking about educating ourselves, and Patrick, you're the teacher on the legislative part of it. As far as the cannabis side of it, Mark, you're going to understand what I'm saying, I know. I want to make very clear to everybody that's waiting on medical marijuana in Kentucky. Kentucky has been selling medical grade marijuana products derived from hemp for the last few years. These products are identical molecularly in strength and everything to the medical program, but it's under the hemp program. You're not seeing that reported. You're not seeing that reported because if you know it's available, you won't need the state program. If you don't need the state program, that's going to cost them money. So it goes back to they are going to try to ban the hemp products to sell it back as
marijuana. We can't allow them to ban anything cannabis wise because at this point they're just taking back what they've already given. And the sad thing is, most of Kentuckians don't even realize what we have available right now is the same thing. So what's limited by law in the marijuana industry is Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinoid oil. That's the, don't bark. That's the scientific name for it. But what we're selling as hemp products is the exact same molecule. It's just derived from hemp. So you get a lot more THC out of a marijuana plant than you do a hemp plant. But if you extract it, you still get the exact same stuff. So they don't want us knowing that. They don't want other people knowing that. That way they can take it back and regulate and do all this stuff they want to. Knowing that is important because we're already selling the full reason for decrim right now. We've had it. There's no bad detrimental part to society. The driving hasn't gotten worse. Wrecks haven't increased. The addiction rate has actually dropped annually for 4 years now, which is ironic because that's exactly how long we've been selling these products. Guys, we just need to make sure there's no division inside our own movement and it's a united stance because these hemp products and the hemp providers and sellers are selling you products that give you your rights. And if you're not looking into those products or trying to learn the other side of this plant, we're not doing ourselves justice. And it's very important to know these things. Carry on.
Okay, you're good because I'm gonna let you read the next one. Robert, you want to get this one?
Engaging in advocacy. Engaging in advocacy is a crucial step. Join local or national advocacy groups that are dedicated to cannabis law reform. These organizations often provide resources, run campaigns, and host events where you can participate to amplify your voice. By becoming an active member, you can help create a collective push for change that is far more effective than going it alone. And that is a fact because one person standing up, they will cut you down. We've created a group to protect us, and actually media protects us as well. So being in a large group like this is very protective and a very beneficial way to get heard.
And what I would add to that, okay, is that KCFC has been around for 10 years. Right? We just recently reached 30,000 people on our page, which I am very thankful for each and every one. In our private closed group, just recently, we just hit 8,000. So there is a lot of eyes watching on what we're doing, and I'm very thankful for each and every one of you all that are participating because everyone can do something, and I appreciate it.
And if every one of those people, the 8,000 or the 30,000 would get involved, we would have this right now. It literally just needs to be done. All we got to
Yeah.
do is speak.
Actually, I had a friend of mine, and I think, and Grace might be able to tell me this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tom Rector, I think, said that if we had like $5 million, it would be done in the state.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, don't quote me on that. I could be wrong on that, but still, we're a grassroots organization. We're trying to do what's right for the state of Kentucky. That's just that simple, right?
Well, that's the legislative side of it, Patrick, and absolutely, it takes millions of dollars to make that kind of change. But if these 38,000 people would all stand up at one time, they wouldn't have to throw a dollar at it. They would take their rights back.
Yep, I agree. All right, so I'm going to take the next one. Contacting your representative. Your voice matters, especially when reaching out to your elected officials. Contact your local, state, federal representatives to express your support for cannabis law reforms. Writing letters, making phone calls, or attending town hall meetings like this one are effective ways to communicate your stance. Sharing personal stories and well-researched arguments can make a significant impact on your representative's perspectives. Your representative number is 1-800-372-7181. And I'm going to be the first one to say we have to have a Republican legislator to support this bill. If we cannot get a Republican legislator, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so I just want to let you know that. So if you're a Republican and you voted for a Republican legislator in Kentucky, reach out to them and ask them to support this bill. Okay, Grace?
Yes. Number 4, support pro-cannabis legislation. Stay informed about the incoming bills and initiatives related to cannabis. When election time comes, make sure to vote in favor of pro-cannabis measures and encourage others to do the same. Your vote is a powerful tool that can help shape policies and laws in Kentucky. Keep an eye on legislative developments to ensure you're ready to support initiatives that align with your views. Our bill is HB 105. And just to add on to that, obviously, like even I was surprised today by what they're trying to slip through, on one of these bills. I mean, I've been using high dose full spectrum CBD every day since 2017, and it has revolutionized my life, including like I started on disability in 2011. Full spectrum CBD has allowed me to get back to work at least part time. So the idea that that is too intoxicating for me to get to that job is ludicrous to me. So it's our responsibility to look into these bills and follow what we can. And luckily we have people like Patrick and Rob on our team who keep up with all of these for us when it gets too busy for, some of us to manage. Thank you guys. And let's just keep on keeping on and doing what we can.
All right, well, let me add something about HB 105 just to make sure that everybody understands what HB 105 is. It's an amendment to the Kentucky Constitution, which will allow you as a Kentucky resident to vote on the decriminalization of cannabis, carry up to an ounce of cannabis on you, and grow 5 plants. We understand that 5 plants will yield more than an ounce, but we're talking about personal use. And whatever you do with that personal use is your personal business, period. Okay, I just want to make sure people knew what we were trying to fight for and expungements and such. Number 5, participating in public demonstrations. Finally, showing support by attending rallies, marches, and other public demonstrations that advocate for cannabis legalization. These events not only served as a show of solidarity, but also helps raise public awareness and puts pressure on our policymakers to consider reform. Joining others in public demonstration can amplify the message that cannabis law reform is a priority for Kentuckians. Just like now, you're actually participating. I don't know how many people we got on this call, Robert.
It looked like about 10 or 12 a minute ago. Something
Right,
like
there's
that.
5. There's 5 on Facebook right now watching us. Okay, each and every
Echo
one.
this.
Yeah, just each and every one of y'all. We are thankful for each and every one of y'all because we're gonna do this Sunday morning at 10 o'clock every morning, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock every night, all the way through the end of session. All right. So we need everyone to invite their family and friends to this, and especially on next Sunday when Representative Kakarni is attending. All right. So the next one, I'm going to let Robert take the next one because this is his baby.
All right, so contacting media. It says local media, but I'm saying all media because as I've stated, inside Kentucky, you have a total media blackout on this constitutional amendment. So you have to reach farther, Kentucky. And it's a sad shame to think that we have to reach outside of our own state media to have this heard, but reach out to national organizations and groups and ask them to cover this. That way our own state media will follow suit. An important step in raising awareness about cannabis law reform is to connect with your local media. Reach out to newspapers, radio stations, and television channels to share information about this bill and its significance. Ask them to report on the current state of cannabis laws in Kentucky and the potential benefits of reform. That's kind of a loaded one, though, because they are reporting on cannabis in Kentucky, but they are, again, media blackout on the decrim side of this. They are very, very supportive of the state medical cannabis program. They are not telling you you have the right to vote for this. So reach. That's all I can say. By getting media coverage, you can help inform a wider audience and generate public interest, which can put additional pressure on lawmakers to take action. That is exactly what we are doing. That is exactly why we are here, and that is exactly how we can overcome these laws. Engaging the media can amplify our message and increase the chances of positive change. One person speaking is easy to ignore. 1,000 people standing up is impossible to ignore. We do rallies, we do the online stuff, and we do go to Frankfurt. You're always invited but it's going to take people getting their self worked up enough to actually participate. Because getting on Facebook and it is important to comment on Facebook posts like the news stories. Let them know if they're doing something wrong, let them know if they're doing something right. But it's so much more important to email them, personally message them, contact your representatives. I mean, doing these steps, they're very valuable steps. We don't have much of a voice, and most people that cast a vote do it on a red or blue side or for their favorite person or for the lesser evil. Guys, there's a lot of stuff going on that you all have to be involved in. I personally can't be involved in all of it. I can't understand most of it, and half the stuff they waste time in these meetings on is useless anyway. And that's our tax dollars, and that's our right to be able to say, stop. Stop wasting our time and our money on this. There's real stuff to deal with. Guys, we need you all. So echo this, share these meetings. People can look at them, ask questions later. We'll still get to those questions, but help this message get out. We are not gaining anything from this. We are trying to open up your laws and help you gain access to this plant. We talk about smokable flower, we talk about THC, but when it comes down to it, guys, it's just about making sure you don't have to suffer these laws. You get pulled over and they think your eyes are red and you're sober, you can get a DUI. We have to stop that. You get a DUI, marijuana related, you happen to have rolling paper or something in there, that's called paraphernalia and an accessory crime. We have to stop that. These things are used against you. We have to stop that. There's an economy built around cannabis prohibition in Kentucky. There's lawyers involved. There's products to get around the test. There's testing involved. There's mandated through courts. Guys, you all have to be involved to protect people. Because when somebody gets arrested for cannabis, and I know this personally, when they get arrested, it's never the cop's fault. They're just doing their job. Can't be mad at them for that. Then you go to the jail, and it's not the jailer's job. They're just doing their job. Then you go to the court, and it's not the court's fault. They're just doing their job. It's your job, Kentucky, to make sure their job doesn't allow them to criminalize us. It's our job to change these laws.
Right. Yeah, and jury nullification. Let's throw that out there as well. But
Absolutely.
let me also add to this, Robert, if I can. Right, like I said, we have 38,000 Kentuckians supporting our initiative. Out of those 38,000, 10,000 or 11,000 are actively engaging in our group. Actively engaging. That's 10,000 people. Now, if 10,000 people picked up the phone and contacted their legislator, that'd be pretty impressive.
If those 10,000 would show up in Frankfurt.
Right, our show up in
Like the
Frankfurt.
teachers did.
Our show up in Frankfurt like the teachers did.
That's a fact.
All right, so in conclusion, by taking these steps, you contribute to an ongoing effort to change the cannabis laws and help create a more informed, equality society. For more information, you can visit legalizekentucky.com. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for your attention. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the sharing this real quick. I'm gonna blow this up. Can you all still see me? All right.
Yes.
All right, we have a few minutes. We've got about 20 minutes. All right, any questions in the chat, please put them in so we can try to answer them. Any questions?
None that haven't been answered yet.
Okay. All right, would anybody like to ask a question, unmute themselves and ask us a question? We have 20 minutes.
I'll talk till somebody else does. Guys and gals, we literally need participation in this. As we pointed out, there's no news coverage of this. Probably not heard of this outside of this group, which is important to why we have to have this group shared, this message shared. We have to help fix these laws, and all it takes is our voice. We've got business professionals, we've got business owners, we've got managers, we've got all the top ranking people of Kentucky that are cannabis consumers. I know them personally. We've got business leaders, we've got religious leaders, we've got all these huge people in Kentucky that are supporters. We need them to speak up. It shouldn't be left to the guys in dreads and tie-dye. We need the whole community on board. And cannabis consumer can be a wide statement. That can be CBD isolate DOT drivers that have to pass a drug test. That can be, I don't need it as medicine, I want it for fun. It can be anything in between there. It's your right. This is a plant that grows best in Kentucky, actually. There's no reason this plant should be restricted the way it is. We just have to have help to fix it.
I agree. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Again, we are very thankful for each and every one of y'all that are joining us, right? We're going to have this meeting again Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. every week until the end of legislation, until something, something else happens. We need everyone to,
Yeah.
we're going to be out to starting at the flea market next week at Shepherdsville Flea Market, right? Educating everyone about the cannabis. We're also going to have, or hopefully have a couple medical cannabis doctors there as attending as well, so they can actually inform people on exactly how the laws are going with the medical. Okay. Was there a question, Robert?
No, no,
No.
there's asking about firefighters, not being able to consume in a certain town or county. And the same thing for the medical personnel, doctors and nurses. Doctors and nurses, that will be a constant for the simple reason they have to work under their providers. Their providers are their technical bosses, even if these doctors are, or these nurses are in that practice. As far as the firefighters and all them, state workers, county workers, each town and county was given the option to opt in or opt out. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on with that right now too. A lot of it has to do with they shouldn't have their rights in your medicine regardless. But that again comes to people having to get involved because
Yeah.
they're going to do whatever they want to do unless people are there to stop it.
Right. And that was actually in Louisville. That report was actually in Louisville. All right. And then we got a report from WKU, all right, that they're not going to allow their students there to have cannabis, which this is insane. All right. The medical bill, right, has way too many restrictions. We have Jason Nemes saying that it's the strictest medical bill in the country, and there's really no reason for that, none whatsoever. Why are you doing this to the sick? Right? We are also, with the city of Louisville, right? The city of Louisville has got an LLEPO where you can carry a half an ounce on you and get away with it as long as there's nothing else going on with you. Okay, just I just want to let people know that. But what's good for Louisville is this should be good for the whole state of Kentucky. Period. Right. This is the thing. We can go from city to city and do an LLPO, which is that something we'd like to do in the future. Right. But at the same time, we have to focus on the whole state of Kentucky and try to take care of all Kentuckians, because KCFC is fighting for access for all Kentuckians. My wife just quoted. So what does
That's a
this?
good, that's
I
a
agree
really
with
good
that one.
point. But we've got 120 counties in this state, so we've got a hell of a division to overcome just in that alone. You take your state and you divide it into 120 counties, then you divide that into red and blue. Guys, there's a whole lot of division to overcome.
Right. And that's the goal of like the flea market. We're gonna be actually talking to Bible Belt country, right, and educating people about this plant. That's my goal, is change someone's mind at least once a day. Other than that, all right. Any other questions? Go
Well,
ahead.
you mentioned the Bible Belt, and I don't let that get away because all our Bible Belt people are very supportive of cannabis as well. Uh, And it really doesn't have anything to do with that. When it comes down to the Bible Belt part, and I'm only saying this because it's late in January and I happen to know the verse. It's 129. God bearing plant and bears seed, seed bearing plant. I mean, it's right there. They're not against this. The laws are against this. They've our cannabis, our religious cannabis community is starting to see it's not all about getting high. And believe it or not, that's a large bit of my clients is the churchgoers who don't want to get high, and they're asking us how. And we can show them, even though we have full-blown THC products available right now. People don't all
Yeah.
want that. They just don't all want that. And we have to be able to provide that as whole plant medicine. And that's all we've been fighting for all these years. They've perverted it into THC and smokable flower. We can't let them get away with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I beat myself stage 3 cancer with it. So full on cannabis, THC, everything, drops, and I smoked it. I beat cancer in 3 months, and they thought it was an absolute a phenomenon, and it was pretty wild.
Well, we're here for everyone, Mark, and we appreciate you being here and voicing your voice, right? Everyone is valued in this organization. We don't distinguish between anybody. Everyone's ideas is very useful, right? You know, I kind of always do the analogy: you throw enough darts at the dartboard, one of them's going to hit the center eventually. Okay? It's that simple. And we're a collective soul trying to make change in the state. So, with that said, anything else, Robert? Mark, you want to add anything? Grace?
Well, sure there, Patrick. I just wanted to let everybody know that I've got several buttons on the way there from Patrick coming to me. And my plan is to make a sign for our Cannabis Coalition and stand out on Versailles Road there at Duncan Road near I-64. And I'm going to distribute those and collect the donations for these buttons. And I plan on taking pictures and short video of me doing this, and anyone else who would like to be there with me to join me. I welcome anybody who wants to participate with me in doing this. And I hope we, I expect these buttons to go fairly quickly. I'll be standing at the corner of Duncan Road, Versailles Road initially. That's the outlet for the whole industrial complex that sits right behind there near Cracker Barrel. And I expect these buttons to basically fly out of my hands. Now, I might be wrong, but I'm 100% behind this, and I'll be there. And I'll also try to forward these pictures on to news media.
Okay.
That's all.
And it's in Frankfurt, just so everybody knows. He's in Frankfurt talk about Frankfurt area. All right. I think Donald, anybody else have any questions? Robert?
Yeah, I got a question.
What's that?
Can you hear me?
Sir, Donald, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I didn't know if you could hear me or not. I applied for my medical marijuana card on January 3rd. And how long does it take to get back anything on it?
All right, so let me explain. Okay, they have 30 days. They're supposed to have 30 days. Right. So
Okay.
my wife actually applied on the 3rd as well,
On the second.
or on the 2nd. So
Okay.
they have 30 days. We were never told 30 days. Nobody was ever told that
Right.
until mid of the month. But they have 30 days. So we should theoretically be expecting those to be emailed to you, everybody, with pretty quick, pretty soon. Now, so just keep an eye out on that. Just keep an eye
Okay.
out.
Well, when we do get them, where do we go?
What part of Kentucky are you in?
I live in Cynthiana, Kentucky.
Okay, do you know where
And
they're
Lexington would probably. I heard there was a dispensary going to be in Georgetown. I'm not sure. I don't even know where the dispensary is going to be yet.
right? Well, they're all still actually in the middle of construction. They don't even have product. Product's not going to be on the shelf in probably about to September. That's what my guess is. That's just my guess, right?
Oh.
But they will start advertising. You'll see it in your area. There's 2 of them going to be in Lexington.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there you will be notified where they're all located at. And actually your doctor should be able to direct you possibly where that
Right.
dispensary is going to be at, possibly.
Oh. Okay. So I just had to continue to go to Ohio, huh?
Right now, the governor's executive order is still in effect. So yes, go to Ohio. What I would explain to you, Donald, is that there is an app that you can download onto your phone, which is free of charge. It's called the Mobile Justice app. It's from the ACLU. Download it.
Okay.
It'll tell you what your rights are. It'll give
Okay.
you your rights, and you can have it right there on hand. So if anything ever happens, you know what your rights are. Okay.
Okay. What's the Mobile Justice app? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, you can actually go to our website, legalizekentucky.com, and
Yeah.
there's a link on the bottom that says know your rights, and it'll take you right straight to it.
Okay, what about Google Play Store? Is it on it?
I wouldn't be
I
able
think
to.
it's Apple and Android.
I think it's
yes.
Apple and Android both. So yes.
Okay,
All
cool.
right. So I would
All right, well,
encourage.
y'all been a great help to me trying to find something out. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, and you're welcome anytime. We appreciate you attending this
And
meeting.
once we do
Okay.
get the cards, some states that have medical programs accept out-of-state medical card patients.
Yes.
Some do, some don't. You just need to check before you go
Go.
take a trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so like I go up there, I've been going to high, I ain't gonna lie to you, but I got my certification letter. That'd be plenty enough, right?
As long as you have a
Per
letter.
the governor.
Yeah, as long as you have a letter from your physician saying that you need cannabis for your.
Okay, yeah,
That is what
That-
is stated in the executive order.
that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you all very much.
You're welcome. We'd like to see you come back. We'd like to see you
Oh,
come back.
Absolutely. This is every Sunday, correct?
Every Sunday and Wednesday night.
Okay. All right. Well,
All
thank
right.
y'all.
You're more than welcome. Anybody have any other questions? We've got 5 more minutes.
I've got a statement to say. We should not have to seek a diagnosis to consume cannabis. There's
Amen.
going to be a whole lot of people having to flock into a doctor's office and pay them $150 just to have their rights for this flower and seek a diagnosis. Hey, I've got PTSD. Hey, I've got chronic pain. They should not have to do that. This should not be in a medical facility's hands. They've went decades intentionally not studying this when cannabis consumers are teaching them how to use it currently.
They should
Doesn't
completely
make sense.
legalize cannabis, man, across the board, like California, Colorado.
See,
And they
that's
should have
why
just
we're
went
here.
all the way with it.
Oddly enough,
Enormous.
Oddly enough, California and Colorado, which we know are very green, very liberal on the cannabis stance, both them states have made hemp-derived THC illegal. The same, and I'm going to point this out because this comes back to tax revenue, and that's exactly what we're fighting everywhere. So I'm going to give this example. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, he legalized cannabis cafes. Big fan of that, by the way.
Right.
In the same week, they legalized cannabis cafes to where you can go in, you can consume cannabis infused foods and cannabis infused drinks. The same week they did that, they also passed a law banning hemp-derived THC, which, like I've explained earlier, is molecularly identical to exactly what they're selling, with the exception hemp-derived THC has a lot lower tax rate that would go to the state than recreational marijuana does. So we got to make sure that even these very supportive states are not backhanded taking away cannabis rights.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? We have a few more minutes, or we're going to go ahead and call it because these are an hour long.
Yes, this is a great show, you guys. Kudos.
All right.
Appreciate everybody.
We appreciate everybody. We'll see you Wednesday night.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll be back Wednesday night.